much anticipated Mark 8 Golf R has finally landed in Australia, and we're here at Sydney Motorsport Park to see if Volkswagen's ultimate hatchback has raised its game. Higher outputs, more performance and a rethink of the all-wheel drive system are key Mark 8 highlights. And it'd want to be measurably better than the old 7.5 version because this new one is around 10 grand more expensive. That's right, the new Golf R is $65,990 as a hatchback and 3 grand more as a wagon. So let's find out what's new in Golf R land. Finally, Australia no longer gets a diluted tune compared to other markets, and instead we get the full fat 235 kilowatts and 400 newton meters in the hatchback version. But the wagon gets a version of the EA 888 engine with a petrol particulate filter that gives it an extra 20 newton meters. And there are quite a few technical changes to this Evo 4 version of the engine, which makes it quite different to the old 7.5. Also familiar and evergreen is the MQB platform that's been kicking around the Volkswagen stables now for around a decade. So there's no wide body effect like we've seen on some competitors, and there's no 3-door body shell choice as a measure of exclusivity. Want the conventional manual that's been offered in North America? Well, tough, because the only transmission available in Australia is the wet type dual clutch 7-speed. Thus equipped, the hatchback version will hit 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.8 seconds. Despite the extra torque, the heavier wagon is 1/10 slower. But the big news is in the all-wheel drive system. Gone is the old Haldex-based system, replaced by torque vectoring that uses dual clutches that can send up to 50% of torque to each rear wheel. There's also plenty of new stuff on the inside. Australia gets a high level of standard equipment that's essentially the optional premium package offered overseas. The seats are trimmed in high-grade Napa leather with 12-way electric adjustment up front and heating and ventilation. You get a paddle shifter wheel and digital cockpit Pro with R-specific content, and large 10-inch Discover Pro touchscreen infotainment with sat-nav. Yet the same slider type user interface found in other Golfs, which does give it a good clean effect but can be very clumsy to use. Not so the transmission selector with its neat one-hand convenience. Which is all good, but how much fire does it bring to the table? Let's take it for a spin. Finally, Australia gets a full-fat version of the EA 888 Turbo 2-litre, so 235 kilowatts and 400 newton meters in the hatch. The wet clutch 7-speed DSG is pretty handy around track, and I've been told that when you put it in manual mode, it will no longer automatically up and down shift, though around here at Sydney Motorsport Park's North Circuit, I have caught it doing so a couple of times. The steering is pretty good and pretty fluid, though it's a little under assisted, and it's not quite as pin sharp as some of its competitors. In truth, its new torque shuffling smarts across the back axle don't really pay a lot of dividends here on the fast flowing North Circuit. This carryover MQB platform, it's probably not surprising the new Mark 8 version feels like a slightly evolved 7.5. The one thing that you do notice is once you get in some of the racier drive modes is there's a little bit more rotation in the mid-corner. That new rear diff trickery really does seem to pay some marginal dividends when you punch it out of turn 2. It's quick and it's competent and probably a little bit friskier than the old 7.5, but really, in character, it doesn't fall far from the traditional tree. So we're going to have to put it on the skid pan to see if that new all-wheel drive system is a proper party trick. The R has always been Golf's ultimate performer and best all-rounder, and this new Mark 8 version is a continuation of that form. But where Golf R is most improved is where it needed it the most, above 8.5 tenths on a racetrack. It's more dynamic and competent with more ability in its stride. Combining that with the added tech and performance goes some way in placating the stiff price rise. Drift mode? Well, unless you've got access to a frozen lake or want to throw your shiny new R at a gravel road, it's going to be an occasional party trick. Golf R's rabid cult following in Australia pretty much ensures it will be a success. But its true mettle will only be properly gauged once it goes up against the hottest offerings from Asia and Europe.